Commentary on Revelation 17 to 18. Overview. This passage presents a symbolic vision explaining the judgment of a great harlot and her relationship to a beast. The imagery is dense, drawing from prophetic language found in earlier writings, especially those concerning covenant unfaithfulness, political alliances, and impending judgment upon a city that once held a privileged role. The interpretation is best anchored in the first century setting, where the symbols correspond to real historical forces, institutions, and events that culminated in a decisive covenantal transition. Verses 2. The Great Harlot and Her Influence. One of the seven messengers introduces the vision of a great harlot seated upon many waters. The language of harlotry echoes prophetic indictments against covenant unfaithfulness, e.g., imagery used for Jerusalem in the prophets. The many waters are later identified as peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues, indicating widespread influence. The kings of the land are said to have committed fornication with her, and the inhabitants have been made drunk with her wine. This describes alliances, religious and political, where influence, power, and compromise intertwine. The intoxication suggests deception and participation in her system. Verses 3-6. The Woman and the Beast. The vision shifts to a wilderness setting where the woman sits on a scarlet beast full of blasphemous names, with 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast represents imperial power, particularly the ruling authority of that era, which carried and sustained the woman. The woman is adorned in purple and scarlet, decked with gold and precious stones, holding a golden cup full of abominations. This outward splendor contrasts with inward corruption. On her forehead is a name: Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations. Babylon functions symbolically, not as the ancient city, but as a designation for a covenant-breaking center that had become aligned with worldly power. The identification points toward a city that once held sacred stability, yet had become opposed to truth and persecuted the faithful. Her drunkenness with the blood of the saints and witnesses reveals her role in persecution. This aligns with the historical reality of hostility toward those who bore testimony during that generation. Verses 7-11. The mystery of the beast. The messenger explains the symbolism of the beast. It was and is not and is about to ascend. This reflects a sequence of imperial authority, past, present, and a looming intensification. The language conveys continuity and transformation within the same system of rule. 7 heads are identified as both 7 mountains and 7 kings. The reference to 7 mountains strongly points to a well-known city built on 7 hills, while the kings represent a succession of rulers. The statement that 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come, situates the vision firmly in a contemporary time frame relative to the original audience. The beast itself is described as an 8th, yet belonging to the 7, indicating a culmination or embodiment of prior Ishkan power. Verses 12-14, the 10 horns and their purpose. The 10 horns represent kings who had not yet received authority, but would receive it for a short time with the beast. Their unity of purpose is to give their power to the beast and make war with the Lamb. However, the outcome is certain. The Lamb overcomes them, described as Lord of Lords and King of Kings, and those with him are called, chosen, and faithful. This highlights the supremacy of divine authority over all earthly systems. Verses 15-17. The turning of the powers. The waters are explained as peoples and nations, reinforcing the global influence of the woman. Interestingly, the very powers that supported her, the 10 horns and the beast, turn against her. They make her desolate, devour her flesh, and burn her with fire. This reversal demonstrates that the alliance between religious corruption and political power is ultimately unstable. The judgment comes through the very instruments that once upheld her. The text emphasizes that this outcome fulfills divine purpose as the rulers act in alignment with what had been determined. Verse 18. The identity of the woman. The woman is identified as that great city which reigns over the kings of the land. This clarifies that the imagery points to a specific city in existence at the time of writing, one that exercised influence and authority. Given the prophetic parallels, covenantal language, and historical setting, the identity aligns with a city that had once been central to worship and covenant life, but had become associated with rejection and opposition, leading to its judgment. Thematic summary: covenant unfaithfulness. The harlot imagery reflects a departure from covenant fidelity expressed through alliances and corruption. Political religious alliance. The woman rides the beast, showing dependence on imperial power. Persecution. The shedding of the blood of the saints identifies the city's role in opposition. Imminent judgment. The events described are near from the perspective of the original audience, culminating in a decisive historical judgment. Divine sovereignty. Even the actions of kings and empires fulfill a predetermined purpose. Transition of authority. The fall of the harlot marks the end of one order and the full emergence of another, centered in the reign of the Lamb. This passage, therefore, unveils the character, alliances, and downfall of a first-century system that had reached its fullness in opposition and was brought to its appointed end.